My name is Bruce Marshall. I'm a 72-year-old High Pointer Club member, and I tried something a little different with this video. I used a GoPro Hero 3 Plus camera, but in order to show the entire route, I decided to take a still shot with the GoPro about every 30 seconds, and then ended up with about 700 or 673 photographs. And then edited that down to about 300 photographs, so that what you see on the screen here is a shot of 2.5 second duration about every minute during this climb. The climb goes up some 4,400 feet from the trailhead, and it's anywhere from 3.7 to 4 miles. It's broken up into two sections. The lower section is a lot easier, a lot flatter, a lot more gradual, as we're seeing here. And then about 2 miles in, we'll see a place where we left water. On this particular day, there were two groups of us. The annual Cops on Top were putting a team in all 50 states, and the team I was with was three of us. Jay Schrader, age 77. This was his second attempt on this peak. Virgil Hall, age 55. He's a fireman in Portland, Oregon, and a new High Pointer Club member, although he's climbed pretty extensively. He's climbed on Denali. He summited Denali. He's done Mount Hood a few times, Mount Rainier, and he's going to climb Gannett and Granite this summer. So even though he's a new high pointer, he's quite accomplished, and he was very helpful to me later on this climb. This is going to be Jay Schrader's 40th state high point, and as I mentioned, my 38th. So as we're moving in toward Boundary Peak, it is a beautiful day. We could not have asked for any better weather. And a key member of the Cops on Top team is Rick Hartman. He's age 62. He's a High Pointer Club member for a number of years and writes an article on safety in their quarterly newsletter. Rick is a guide in the Grand Canyon now, and he was incredibly helpful to me on this climb. There he is, sitting at the 2 mile marker, or the 2 mile point where we left some gear. And he has climbed this mountain several times and really knew the route very well. It's pretty well delineated on the lower portion of the climb, but as you get up near the top, the scree gets much worse and there's more bouldering involved. And we see it starting to get a little tougher and a little steeper right through here. So this is a very interesting climb. a very dramatic climb, I think, and it's really weather dependent as to whether you're going to be successful on this. And the big challenge I had was water. I seem to run out of water more and more often these days. Now, one of the rating schemes on the high points of the United States puts Nevada as number 11 as far as difficulty rank between Humphreys Peak in Arizona and Wheeler Peak in New Mexico. Well, I remember climbing Humphreys Peak in Arizona in 2008. Of course, I was a good bit younger then, in my early 60s. But it seems like this hike was more difficult than Humphreys Peak in Arizona. Maybe it's just because I'm older now. Anyway, you can see it's getting a bit steeper. I did pass one individual who ended up turning back. I think it was one of his first true high points of this nature out west. And there's Rick Hartman ahead of me, plowing up the hill here. And I'm following, and you see my shadow periodically. And there it is in the distance. It's still probably a mile and a half to go to get to the summit. So these quick shots really show you the terrain in some detail. And again, it was just a fabulous day. The temperature was just right. I had on my hat that shelters my ears and avoids getting sunburned and everything. And that GoPro camera fit perfectly right on top of the hat. So you see stretches of trail here that are pretty well delineated, but then when you go around these big piles of rocks and at certain stages, you have to really be watching and trying to do better route finding. And it was very, very helpful to have people ahead that I could watch or get some guidance from Rick Hartman. And at one point through here, I actually collapsed the hiking poles because it was a rock scramble. And then once I got up through the rocks to the ridge, right through here, is part of the rock scramble. And then once I got up through this, I pulled the poles back out and used those up through some of this next terrain. And then there's a formation up here called the Shark's Tooth. And it's hard to know whether to go to the right or to the left of the Shark's Tooth. I think I went to the right. I can't really remember now. And then when I got a little bit above that, Virgil Hall came down from the summit and he asked if he wanted me to carry my pack. Well, I thought he was going to go down, and I asked him. He said, "No, I just wanted to see if you wanted a little bit of assistance getting to the top here." And I said, "Sure." And fortunately, when I got up on top, and I was out of water again for the second time, Rick Hartman had left me a bottle of water with a big red, white, and blue neckerchief about 500 feet below this. And then when I got to the summit, he had some more extra water. Plus, he was kind enough to give me a can of mandarin oranges with all the juice in them. So I think on this day, without a little assistance that I received, there's Virgil Hall taking my pack up the last stretch up to the summit. It certainly would have been a lot more difficult, and I might not have gotten to the summit. And I'm not boring anybody with the route down. I changed the battery on the GoPro 5 times. But on the way down is where I have most of my issues, because I have a drop foot. I cannot raise my right toes. I had a nerve entrapment about 30 years ago playing beach volleyball, and it took a number of years to get that taken care of. Anyway, here we are on the summit. Beautiful day, and there's Rick Hartman, and he was extremely helpful. It was like having a very expensive guide, and he didn't charge me anything. So he's a wonderful guy to hike with. There's Virgil Hall, and I'm changing my socks here. And he's a wonderful guy also, so if you get to climb with either one of these guys, you've really got a special treat for yourself. And here I am, the photo shooter and director, and just finishing off this video. So thanks very much, and check out apexchallenge.com for a big event in 2019. We're going to put a team on all 50 state high points from the 29th of June to the 4th of July in 2019.